Facilities that make this program possible are provided by the City of Highland Park. Programs are produced independently by members of the community. The City of Highland Park is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of the City of Highland Park.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Jennifer Dotson and I'm your host for Poetry Today. I'm very happy to have a guest. My poet this afternoon is Joris Soeding. Joris's most recent collections of poetry are 40. That was published by Rinky Dink Press in 2019. And Home in 9 Moons, that's Claire Songbird's publishing house in 2018. Soeding's writing has appeared in publications such as Another Chicago Magazine, Columbia Poetry Review, Concho River Review, and Red River Review. He is a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher in Chicago, where he resides with his wife, son, and daughter. And I'm so happy that you could join me today.
Oh, Jennifer, I'm too.
It's great.
Thank you so much.
Yes. No, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
I guess we first connected, became aware of each other when I had that contest for the Driving Cars anthology,
yes,
and you submitted,
which was so great.
That, and we selected one of your poems for that, which became an anthology, and
such a great collection.
No, it was wonderful. And then you came, you came to our event. I want to say in September, maybe.
Yeah.
And I heard you read, and I was like, wow, this guy's got some stuff. So I wanted to welcome you on the show.
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. So,
how long have you been? I mean, obviously you've been publishing in terms of full collections recently, relatively recently. But how long have you been writing poetry?
My first poem was October 1st, 1994. So, typical teenage stuff.
Okay.
A couple rhyming poems, but I was writing quite a bit. And then I came to Chicago, and I knew I wanted to do something with writing, but I thought I'd maybe be a journalist, and found out that Columbia College had a poetry major, and so within a semester, I declared poetry and really started writing a lot more.
So then you must have had a really good professor to pull you over to the poetry side.
Yeah. A lot of great professors.
Okay.
Yeah. David Trinidad, Tony Trujillo. Okay. Yeah, Maureen Seaton. And we missed her when she left, but so many great poets and such good writers that I had the pleasure of having classes with. And then Lee Young Lee before I graduated, which was amazing. Yeah, to sit in Chinatown at a restaurant and share poems with Lee Young Lee. I mean, it was just beside myself. Yeah. But my 3 years at Columbia College were fantastic, and really, even though I started writing in high school, and I had a great high school teacher named Mr. Ambrose, who really got me into poetry, gave me a book for winter break. It was my time in Chicago where I really started writing a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, now you say that you first started, you have a specific date, and I haven't heard that.
Yes.
So I'm curious, why that date?
I think I just liked organizing my writing as a teenager, and it was an easy date to remember.
Okay.
And I just remember that fall I started writing a lot more, and I still do this, put a date and a time that I wrote the poem.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just an obsessive compulsive thing or what, but
Well, it's very helpful for your future biographer.
Yeah, I love it.
And so I guess that what I was thinking was, well, maybe there was an incident that occurred on that date that inspired the writing, or was it?
Yeah, no, just adolescence.
Oh, okay.
Having relationships, friendships.
It's all fuel for angst.
It is, and we were talking earlier. I mean, being a teenager, 7th, 8th grade high school, it's that hasn't changed. It's still so difficult, and I think going through those challenges, having a notebook and a pen was always something that I could go to. So it kind of started off, kind of a rough time in my life, but going to the notebook was an easy thing to do, and it was good. Yeah, good for me.
So then that brings up the other notebooks and pens. I mean, there is that kinesthetic, connection, physical, with the paper. Do you still write with paper and pen?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're old school.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually I'll write something in the notebook or a legal pad or whatever it is that I have around the house, and then type it up eventually and edit it and yeah. But I'm definitely old school when it comes to writing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we get talking specifically about your books, maybe we should hear you read something. You
Okay.
want to start? That would be
Sure.
great.
Sure.
Something you want to talk about?
I'll read one that's pretty recent from the last couple of years, and kind of typical of my writing style too.
Okay.
Just being an observer. I read a lot about my family as well in recent years. This is called Tracing August. This is what the sky should look like. I say to Blake, then Krista, Victoria, listening to the bugs of August, lights off the water, left of an island for sale, cars from Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Illinois. We wind in the dark, a map arrowed and X'd, sounds remain with a rippling half moon of Elbow Key. Town submerged in 1931. 3 children leap from the dock's diving board. 92 miles of laughter on Friday afternoon. How many are buried under the lake? The white smoke sneaks from side roads of US 54, near a closed bowling alley in Vandiver, population 71. Wedding reception in the backyard of a farmhouse. An elder couple sitting on the front porch in Ladonia. I wonder what this place used to be like. Awed by homes and stores older than a century, train tracks of Main Street in Vandalia, with us since Red River, then freight for miles in Oklahoma, a barefoot girl crosses Taylor Street prior to another creek by downed trees, a women's detention center with the lot half full, by Hannibal the hills return. A darker hue of green, we sense the Mississippi River nearing. So it's, just, that's something that just hasn't changed, is just observing. But I was the one driving, so having to sort of, keep everything in those moments and waiting till after I tuck in the kids to put it to notebook and sort of get all the details and remember the population numbers. But I think kind of the good thing about the internet too, you can always go back and see how a town is laid out on Google
Oh, neat! That was it sounds like a summer road trip.
Yep.
Okay.
From our first time in Ozarks 2 summers ago.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we love the Ozarks and I tend to do that with my family, just kind of hold on to it and remember all these details and putting them to paper. It's just great. Yeah.
So you have published quite a bit of stuff, and these 2 collections are. I see you worked with 2 different publishers. So what was it like first putting the manuscripts together and then working with the different publishers and like how you found them or they found you or whatever yours
yeah, great question. Yeah. You just have to go through a lot of rejections, obviously, as a writer. And I think this one, Home at 9 Moons, I want to say it was rejected about 14 times before it was accepted. So I tell other people that are into writing, you just have to be patient and keep an open mind and the rejection notices are always humbling but finding the right publisher. So when I found Claire Songbird's publishing house, at the time,
where are they based?
Upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
And it's run by 3 women, and they were going to publish a lot of books in 2018, and I was so fortunate. I think I sent it out 2 years ago and heard the next month. I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
But some of those poems go back to Columbia College, a few of them.
Okay.
So organizing a manuscript and having a few different sections where, all right, this is my life at Columbia College, a few of these poems. This is my family life. This is the life in between and the friendships that, that I grew up with and growing up in Michigan and then moving to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I felt so, you just know a publisher and looking for the website and seeing the writing that they had, I thought, this is my writing style. I've got to give Claire Songbirds a try. And they were so wonderful to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, what was that like? Did they, did they design the cover and everything?
They did.
And,
Right. And it's so funny that, obviously Moons is in the title, but the Moons was on both covers, 2 different publishers, and I remember Maureen Seaton saying at Columbia that the moon was like the object that Western poets write the most about, right? So I kind of laughed when that book came out, but yeah. But they were just so great to work with. They designed the cover art. I just had to get the blurbs, and I had already obsessed over editing, and I even rewrote a couple of poems.
I think that's fairly expected now. Is that whatever manuscript you're going to submit is going to be a fairly polished product by the time it's out there, because I think because most small publishing houses don't have staff to or time to even I mean I did meet somebody who was did my first book. I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, Chicago Poetry Press. Yeah. But he had a contest, and he said that people would literally give him shoe boxes filled with poems. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, so he was very happy that I had presented a complete manuscript. Absolutely. That was pretty close to ready to go.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I always have to wonder what some of the editor's submission guidelines, it's got to be 1 poem per page, and for 12 years I was a managing editor at another Chicago magazine. So I remember getting poems that you could tell they were resubmitted, or you got poems and short stories from everywhere. Okay. Yeah. But the shoebox we never got. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
So that's probably that background of working on that magazine must have helped you with your own writing, but then also to be more, shall we say, editor friendly. Yeah. When you're making submissions, because a lot about what is annoying and what is
absolutely. Well, I think too, I'd have my teachers' voices in my mind too about doing something fresh, especially when you're talking about love or loss or
the moon
exactly. It's hard to stay, you want to be true to your voice, but also trying to play with language and have some sort of a unique voice. And I think, obviously, readers or writers or great writers or readers as well, and looking through other people's poems and being inspired by them definitely helped through those years. And I think I felt connected to the writing community for those years. Because for a while, I was busy trying to become an elementary teacher, doing grad school, having 3 jobs. But every Monday night, thank goodness my wife, we'd open up our apartment Monday nights, have the editors come over, make a pot of coffee, and just manuscripts all over the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, and for 2.5 hours every Monday, have people over and talk about writing and talk about the submissions and I want to say we probably had 500 submissions a month. So we really
That's a lot.
We really had to meet and I always felt bad for the fiction editors. Fiction's not my background, and these 30, 35 page manuscripts.
Wow.
I always thought it was tough for them because how do you have to read a whole short story, but I know some of them would say, hey, give it 5 pages but you never know where the story's going to go, right? So I always felt it was easier as a poetry editor, to read 5
Certainly
poems.
less volume.
Yes, absolutely, exactly.
I mean, there may have been more. It may have made in terms of the number of submissions.
Yeah.
But the narrative that you're working through is much briefer than 30
absolutely.
pages.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you still work with another Chicago magazine?
I don't. Just being a dad and letting go of a couple of things.
Yeah.
It's something. I'm sure once they go to college, I don't know. Who knows? If I'll start a small review or or go back to ACM. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun for those 12 years. Starting as an intern and then becoming a managing editor and doing the readings and going to AWP. So it's something I've kind of taken a step back from, but I do enjoy going to readings and meeting other authors that are local or otherwise. And it's great. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear some more of your work.
Okay. I'll read one from the book. This is Proposing to Miss Make-Believe. I approached the point of boy wishing for girl, hold hands in the big kids' playground. Though every Allison or Lindsay had the word mystery for themselves, almost could there have been more. A house in the neighborhood that I pass with my first bike. Never cars in driveway. The door with windows like prisms, so if there ever were to be a silhouette, it'd be hysterical, unclear. There must have been a princess inside the house. Someone too pretty for afternoons. I no longer just passed. I began parking the blue bike with style, with a kickstand, pretending a problem in the wheels or chain. I wanted the princess to see some kind of a true man, a mechanic. And while appearing to know what to fix, I'd peer through the spokes to see merely a hint of her, yet nothing moved behind prism glass. The drapery didn't flinch. So for twin summers, I rode home disappointed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love going back to childhood for the first collection. And I did a lot of that with Columbia, just going back to my roots. And I think that was part of just moving to another city. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remembering some of those things about, riding bikes in the neighborhood or, yeah.
Well, you definitely captured that sense, and the whole deception of like, oh yeah, I'm fixing my bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though you're trying to peer through the, through the wheel to look at the.
Yeah, and it's funny with imagination and now having, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old and seeing their imagination, it's just, it's great how it kind of comes full circle and like that and how they interact with each other and imaginative play and all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I did forget to ask you about the other book. And what was the publisher for that? Was that
this one was Rinky-Dink Press? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this one I've noticed was something with my writing that sometimes how should I put it? Having a formula helps. So with Rinky-Dink Press, they ask for 40 words or less. So I created poems with 40 words or less, and even though some of my poems are shorter, sometimes it's good. I've noticed the writing, I kind of enjoy having parameters, like the Magic 9 for Highland Park.
Yeah.
Right? I'd never written a Magic 9 poem. I had no idea what it was. But having a chance to rhyme again in a poem and try different formulas is great, and kind of getting out of your comfort zone.
Sure.
But yeah, so this, I believe, micro poems is called 40. It just came out in December. But this was the first micro poem collection that I tried out last summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to read something from that?
Sure. I mean, these are short. Let's see. Table for 3. You, Megan, and I lunch at Wendy's down the street from the Silverdome. You become acquainted with my best friend. She is nervous, promptly loves you. Sometimes I imagine you two at that Wendy's, one chair empty, you both laughing. So this is a collection for my late counselor Andrew, who helped me out of a rough time. So I thought about him a lot last year, and he passed when he was 40, and last year I was 40. So I thought about him a lot last year. So it was perfect last summer writing several poems about him. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Very cool. And Rinky Dink, they're true to their publishing.
Yes.
that they like, so physically small.
Yeah. And then, you open this up, and I don't know how, they have a few cuts, and it looks like one piece of paper.
Oh, it's almost...
With a hole in the middle, right?
Oh, my goodness.
And then, so one sheet of paper, you can have 5 poems, a cover, a bio in the back. Unbelievable.
That is...
just something very fun that was, something new I had to try. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my. Yeah. Wow. That is cool. Did you want to also talk about some of these other the chapbooks?
My first one was dedicated to my late friend Megan. She sadly passed when she was 18. So the first half of that is dedicated to her, and then the other ones are some of the new, moving to Chicago, a new life here in this great city. Living in Chicago and writing poems here. So, and then the second one was an idea that David Trinidad brought up to me over lunch. Was he noticed I was writing X-Files inspired poems. He said, "Why don't you write a poem, chapbook based on the X-Files?" So I took his idea, and about 16 months later, I had a whole chapbook manuscript.
So now these are upside down. So which one is the...
So this one's the X-Files one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Trees Otherness Instance. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Now on the cover, you've got an image of which look like 2 dolls.
Yeah.
Are those actually the
Mulder and Scully figurines? Yes. Yeah.
That's very funny.
and
great.
I fell in love with Vancouver, which the show was filmed for the first 5 seasons, and so I had to bring those on one of my trips to Vancouver, and I photographed that one in the woods in Vancouver. I had to, I was already thinking of my cover photo. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's funny because I just interviewed Jan Bottiglieri, who wrote her book about the Blade Runner. So her book is called Everything Seems Significant.
Yes.
The Blade Runner poems. And that was published by Blaze Fox. And it came out on the anniversary of when the film was set.
Yes.
In November of 2019.
I need to read her new collection. I have one of her chapbooks where, I want to say they're at Comiskey Park or something. There's a bunch of people looking up. I can't remember the name of it. But I remember she signed me a copy years ago. I mean, this was a long time ago. I can't remember the name of it, but everybody's looking up at something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had first interviewed her because she had her book Alloy, which was her first full collection, and then she came back
that's great.
for that one. But I find it fascinating that poets would sometimes, using the pop culture and narrowing in on such a tight focus.
Yeah.
So.
And the parameters too.
Yeah,
right? Having those parameters, and this has got to be X-Files related. I think putting something inside of a box for me sometimes just works.
Now it's interesting with her work. Oftentimes there's a blur between the film and things in her life because it's all through her lens, I guess. Her perception of the film. Yeah. And so she does incorporate some things in her personal life in those poems that are about the film.
Oh, I love
that. Is there any transcendence of these poems into your?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, there's an opening haiku about having too many dishes in the sink, but it's 8:00 on Sunday. I've got to catch this new episode.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
And then the first poem, The Ritual, is about me sitting down on a blanket having a ritual to press record on the VCR player. Sorry. To press record to tape that night's episode as well. Having the whole ritual of enjoying one. X-Files is my absolute favorite TV show, and having that, and now having the poems to revisit that whole experience, which ended in 2002 and came back a few years ago. But yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So do you have future projects that you're working on that you?
I enjoy doing poems in honor of Andrew. Sometimes it's elegy. I'm really not sure about the next project, which is exciting. Yeah.
Okay. So it's.
I'm writing a little bit of everything right now. Okay. Yeah.
Well, do you have more that you'd be willing to share?
Sure.
To read?
Let's see. I could. I'll read Hospice. This was published in the Northeastern's Seeds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I got my master's there, and it's always great going back to see what the writers are doing. Yeah. Hospice. You in bed, and I pray for another song, a hand raised, fur or something pricey adorning your neck. At church, we celebrate the Magnificat, sing of Maria, gentle woman. Your strength is different, outright reckoning, spiritual, yes. Yet glass doors will swing quickly. Woods used to separate our homes, Sunday afternoon walks with Mommy and Papa. Dogs in large cages would spot us. I always wondered if you were sitting at the piano, idly writing songs, or peering into those trees, cigarette in hand. Rolls Royce sparkling in the semicircle. Years went and Mommy and Papa were awakened, helicopters at dawn. Your beautiful home in flames. We were neighbors, yet tonight you drift. Although no cul-de-sac, this place needs your glimmer, honesty, love. I ask for more notes and days. And that was about Aretha Franklin when she was in hospice. And there was acres and acres of woods between our homes. I grew up in about a half hour north of Detroit. And, great childhood memories with my parents walking through the woods in the winter, and her, we'd see her house, and
my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just kind of sending her good thoughts when we heard she was in hospice and everything, and how amazing she was.
Did you ever meet her?
Never.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But your parents admired her enough that they would play her music, or
no. So that was something I had to find on my own.
Oh my goodness.
Going to Aretha Franklin, the Temptations I love, but I didn't discover Temptations till I was about 30. So, having grew up close to Motown, I didn't really get into it till I was in Chicago.
Interesting. Well, I just saw. I watched the Oscars the other night, and I just saw that that actress who played Harriet Tubman is now doing a biopic about Aretha Franklin.
I saw that. Yeah,
they had a preview about it, so just said them.
Yeah.
Anyway, looks very good.
Yeah, she was incredible. I heard stories about her, but I never saw her, and you're never allowed to drive on the little cul-de-sac. There was her house and another one, but it was heartbreaking when her home burned, and there was a picture of her burnt piano, in the front yard.
Goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But kind of interesting, and time passing by.
Well, certainly you are not afraid to write about anything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It's like it's all fodder for your your pen and your imagination.
Yeah, it's something I need. I know it's changed with having a family, which is great. My kids are in a lot of my poems now, and writing's changed, which is great. But it's always something that's there, and it's a necessity. It really is. Yeah. And you have to write a lot of poems to get to some of the poems that other people appreciate, and I love that part of the process too. I mean, really, it's maybe more disciplined, and it's humbling for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll look at my wife and say, "Yeah, I love this poem," and I'll say, "Yeah, hey, send it out to the world." And then it's the one poem you don't think is going to get published that might, an editor might take. It's an adventure for sure. Yeah.
That's a very good. It's often surprising what editors or whoever contest people are going to pick.
Yeah.
It's often the thing that you don't expect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and I guess I wonder if when you were on the other side of selecting poems.
Sure.
Is it? I don't know, the one. What stands out to you as a poem that you think is worthwhile?
And when I was learning to become an editor, you think, all right, is the first one going to be the best one? Is it going to be in the middle? And sort of thinking as a writer, where do I put what I think is the best poem? And then you want to go and it's something I don't know. At least I overthink with submissions and going through other people's poems when I was an editor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where do you put some of those poems or do you organize them by theme, or do you have one word in this poem that could relate to a word in the next poem?
Oh, okay, that's an interesting bridge.
Yeah, but yeah.
But then is it an obvious connection that makes a manuscript cohesive, or is it more subtle, like you're talking about, just having a word to word?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the journal too, right? Or the theme. With like the driving one last year, all right, having to find poems with cars, or creating a new poem about a car, which I love about the Magic 9. It was, let me write about this idea I've had for a poem, but here I have a formula that I wouldn't have tried otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the fun thing about having a theme or having something new to try.
And especially with rhyme, you want to make it not sound like so heavy, like a Hallmark card. You want
absolutely.
To make it. How can I make this like contemporary sounding and still adhere to the form?
Yeah.
So
wow.
Well, I think we're getting close to being out of time, so I want to try to sort of wrap things up. You have quite a great collection of work, and I think you're definitely going to be writing a lot more.
Yeah,
and we'll be seeing a lot more of you. And I hope that we'll have you back as a guest for being a feature at one of our
that'd be great.
One of our monthly events. So do keep us posted on your next publication efforts, and certainly if you ever start that journal when your kids grow up.
As I know, right? Absolutely.
Let us know. We would love to be in touch about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Jennifer.
Cool.
I love it.
Very cool. Yeah. And then do you have like maybe a short one to end?
Sure. Let me see. Here's one where all of the This was based on Wang Ping's photographs, and the parameters were the lines had to be from Vancouver poets.
Okay.
So I wrote 12 of these based on 12 of her photographs. So I didn't write this text, I organized it, but it had to be from a Vancouver area writer
Okay.
because I fell in love with the area.
Right.
So why not take the writing? Take a moment to stand in front of me. What to say